We knew the nursing home death scandal was bad, and now we're learning it's worse. This may be one of the biggest scandals we've had in a very, very long time. I don't want to say ever because, look, I'm only 34. I'm sure there's been bigger scandals, but we now have a Democrat governor who knew that his policy of putting sick COVID patients into nursing homes would result in lots of death, mass death. And you had many people at the nursing homes saying, you can't do this. We know this will result in people dying. Cuomo said he didn't care. And then Cuomo's aides, the people who worked for him, pressured health officials to change the total number of dead, because they knew that they would be in serious trouble. Assemblyman Mike Lawler has called this a coordinated criminal conspiracy to obstruct justice. I have to say, I agree. But the scandal goes well beyond politics. This may be one of the biggest media scandals we've ever seen. And this, my friends, should be the nail in the coffin for the corporate press. When Andrew Cuomo was murdering people, when they knew it would result in death, thousands upon thousands dead, what was the media doing? They were praising this man every single day. CNN's Brian Stelter, one of the most duplicitous people on TV, praising Cuomo, talking about how good a job he's doing. If this guy did any work, any actual journalism, they could have seen that Andrew Cuomo was murdering people. What about the guy who threw the banner over the highway bridge, the overpass, that said Cuomo killed my mom? What about the health officials that objected before it even started, who said, you can't do this, you will kill people? According to the Wall Street Journal, that happened. Where were your journalists, CNN? Where were your reporters? Now, I know many people are looking at me saying, where are your reporters, Tim? Oh, we're working on it. We're working on it. I don't have the infrastructure of a decades-old billion-dollar corporate press. But yeah, we'll get to it. I'm not kidding. We will. Because we can clearly see the media, they don't care. CNN, MSNBC, these big networks did nothing but praise the man. Chris Cuomo, who faked being in quarantine, does stupid, silly Q-tip bits with Andrew Cuomo on TV. They entertained the idea that he would run for president. Now we're learning that not only is Cuomo a murderer, but he's also an abuser of several women. Assemblyman Mike Lawler tweets, it's very clear the Cuomo administration understood their March 25th order had contributed to the death toll, and they wanted to cover it up to avoid political fallout. Plain and simple. They had the data and they hid it. This was a coordinated criminal conspiracy to obstruct justice. Let me just make that very clear for you. One of the most popular Democratic politicians right now among Democrats knew putting COVID patients into nursing homes would kill them. It would kill innocent people who were in those nursing homes who were not sick. He covered it up because he didn't want to look bad and didn't want to get caught and didn't want an investigation. And we know it all now. You want to know the scariest thing about this? I've got the story and I'll go through it, where they actually say that health officials were warning, don't do this. Nursing home officials were saying, you can't do this, don't do this. And they did anyway. It wasn't just Cuomo. Whitmer did it. I believe a few other, Tom Wolf, I believe in Pennsylvania did it. I want to show you something. Rich, as a party, says Q poll in field this Tuesday and Wednesday shows Governor Cuomo among Democrats with a 65 to 27 job performance rating and a 60-30 favorability. Amazing. Cuomo murdered 15,000 people. He was warned it would happen. He obstructed he covered up the numbers, and the Democrats still support him. We're in very serious trouble, my friends. If this is the state of politics in this country, that you can have even left-wing personalities pointing out that Cuomo is an abuser. Cuomo is accused of some very serious things from several women, and Democrats still support him 2-1. Is this politics now? Is this it? Tribalism? That a man could be a murderous criminal and they will still support him? Yes. When Trump came out and said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose a voter, he was not wrong. And they criticized him and his supporters for it. And you know what? Good. Trump should not say those things. Now Cuomo's actually killed people, and they're the ones who still support him. The Wall Street Journal reports New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's top advisor successfully pushed state health officials to strip a public report of data showing that more nursing home residents had died of COVID than the administration had acknowledged, according to people with knowledge of the report's production. The July report, which examined the factors that led to the spread of the virus in nursing homes, focused only on residents who died inside long-term care facilities, leaving out those who had died in hospitals after becoming sick in nursing homes. As a result, the report said 6,432 nursing home residents had died, a significant undercount of the death toll attributed to the state's most vulnerable population, the people said. The initial version of the report said nearly 10,000 nursing home residents had died in New York by July last year, one of the people said. The changes Mr. Cuomo's aides and health officials made to the nursing home report, which haven't been previously disclosed, reveal that the state possessed a fuller accounting of out-of-facility nursing home deaths as early as the summer. The health department resisted calls by state and federal lawmakers, media outlets, and others to release the data for another 8 months. My friends, we are now looking at a story confirmed, decried, of a man who knew he killed these people. Do you think anything's going to happen? Do you think there will be a federal prosecutor who comes and arrests Cuomo? I really doubt it. He'll get away with it. Quite literally, killing 15,000 people. They say state officials now say more than 15,000 residents of nursing homes and other long-term care facilities were confirmed or presumed to have died from COVID-19 since March of last year, counting both those who died in long-term care facilities and those who died later in hospitals. That figure is about 50% higher than earlier official death tolls. Mr. Cuomo now faces mounting political pressure over both his administration's handling of the pandemic in nursing homes and accusations he harassed staffers. Republicans and some Democrats have called for the governor to resign from office or be impeached. Mr. Cuomo has rejected calls for his resignation and apologized for his behavior. Regarding nursing home deaths, Cuomo has said his administration followed federal guidance and acted to preserve hospital capacity. Just following orders. The CDC said, hey, here's what you should do. And they did. That's why I say, I don't care if you support Trump or not. There is clearly a disconnect between what red states did and blue states did. And it's interesting to see how this is primarily affecting blue states. They're going to say federal prosecutors in Brooklyn asked the Cuomo administration in February for information about nursing home deaths. The Wall Street Journal reported. Federal prosecutors expressed interest in the July report. People familiar with the matter said, I'll tell you what's going to happen. They'll throw some low-level staffer under the bus and Cuomo will be like, hey, I had no idea. And then some dumb intern goes to prison. In response to questions from the Journal, administration officials said Thursday that Mr. Cuomo's advisors advocated against including data on out-of-facility deaths because they had concerns about its accuracy. The out-of-facility data was omitted after DOH could not confirm it had been adequately verified, Beth Garvey, a special counsel and senior advisor to Cuomo, said in a statement. Spare me, it's a lie. In my opinion, one official familiar with the back and forth between the health department and Mr. Cuomo's advisors said State Health Commissioner Howard Zucker agreed the out-of-facility data shouldn't be included in the report. The Department of Health was comfortable with the final report and believes fully in its conclusion that the primary driver that introduced COVID into the nursing homes was brought in by staff. The health department updated the report on February 11th to include out-of-facility deaths of nursing home residents, saying its conclusion remained unchanged by the new data. State lawmakers from both parties have said the out-of-facility death data was critical for them to evaluate nursing home policies that could prevent future fatalities. They said the Cuomo administration's decision to delay its release constitutes a cover-up of data the governor knew would be damaging to his political stature. Melissa DeRosa, Mr. Cuomo's top aide, explained the delay to state lawmakers during a February 10th meeting. She said the state sidelined a legislative request for the data because of a U.S. Department of Justice inquiry. Mr. Rosa said the state was concerned the information would be politicized by the administration of former President Donald Trump, according to a transcript. That's right. Donald Trump may have gotten reelected if people found out that Democratic governors were murdering people. Gee, I wonder why people would have decided to vote for the Republican. The Justice Department, through its Civil Rights Division, began requesting information about nursing home deaths from New York and other Democratic-leaning states in August. The initial July report was the product of a health department study of the factors that contributed to the death toll in nursing homes. The agency undertook the study in response to complaints from state lawmakers and people who lost loved ones that a March 25th Health Department directive fostered the spread of the virus among members of the state's most vulnerable population. That directive said that no nursing home could refuse to readmit residents or admit new residents from hospitals solely because of a COVID-19 diagnosis. The July report concluded that nursing homes were already rife with the virus by the time of the March 25th policy and attributed the spread to staff who brought it with them to work. Several of Mr. Cuomo's top advisors, who were members of his COVID-19 task force, reviewed and requested changes to the report. They included a bunch of people The lead author of the report was Eleanor Adams, who until August worked out of the health department's metropolitan area regional office in a unit that focused on infection control in healthcare facilities. One of the people said, Dr. Adams has since become a senior advisor to Dr. Zucker. The initial version of the report submitted to Mr. Cuomo's team for review included both data on deaths of nursing home residents in hospitals and deaths of residents inside nursing homes, people familiar with the report's production said. While health department officials agreed to remove the data, they resisted Cuomo's aid request to alter the report to play down the role of the March 25th directive in the spread of the virus, some of the people said. The report, as published, concluded the directive was not a significant factor in nursing home fatalities. Check this out. The March 25th order came as hospitals were rushing to make space for an expected surge of coronavirus patients. Let me point out that the Javits Center was available and the Mercy naval vessel was available as well. They say nursing home operators, learning of the policy only after it was issued, immediately objected, saying it would introduce the virus into their facilities. A national group representing nursing home health providers said at the time that the March 25th directive was, quote, not in the least consistent with patient safety principles. A national group told them, don't do this. You will bring the virus here. And they said, so what? And they did it anyway. And now how many people have died? It's not just the 15,000. It's the other Democrat governors who did the same thing. They say a New York State Health Department spokeswoman, Jill Montag, said in August the decision to issue the directive was made on the merits by the public health experts at DOH and following the CDC guidelines. Health Department officials didn't provide an updated statement when asked on Thursday. Okay, I don't care who you throw under the bus for this. I don't care if it's Fauci, the CDC, Cuomo, even you know what? Blame a little bit of Trump, right? His administration, Trump should have fired Fauci immediately. Fauci had been going on TV saying don't wear masks, and now people are blaming Trump. If only Trump had been pro-mask, Fauci himself was anti-mask. And then it was only later on that he admitted we didn't want people buying up masks because we needed them. They could have slowed the spread of this if they just told people to wear a scarf. Put a piece of cloth over your face, right? That's what they've been saying. Masks are a good thing. So why would Fauci say don't do it? Why wouldn't Fauci just say, all you really need is a scarf, something to cover your mouth as you're walking around. That's it. Because that's what they're saying now. Now they're saying double masking, mind you. Why? Trump should have fired Fauci. So I believe the buck stops with Trump. At the time, he was the president. Trump should have sent in federal investigators. He should not have taken them at their word. But Trump was not the fascist dictator they tried to claim him to be. And because of this, people are dead. I'm not actually suggesting Trump be a fascist dictator. I'm pointing out that if Trump simply used the powers he had, he could have prevented all of this. And you know what's funny? I've heard that from many leftists. They said if Trump just used the war powers and intervened, he could have saved lives. They wanted Trump to be more authoritarian. Well, Trump didn't have the guts. He didn't. Perhaps he was scared the media would smear him again and they would call him a fascist and the Democrats would lie. But they were doing that anyway. Now Cuomo's going to get away with it. You know why? Well, they mentioned federal prosecutors are looking into him. So we'll see. But look at this. 65 to 27 approve of his job performance. 65% of polled Democrats approve of Cuomo's job after he killed 15,000 plus people. They approve of that. Isn't it amazing? And they argue that, you know, with the 500,000 people who died of COVID so far, under Trump, it was a bit less, but still hundreds of thousands of people. They say that's Trump's fault. The buck stops with him. And I'm like, okay, well, you wonder why Trump supporters support him. Trump didn't put sick patients into nursing homes. Trump did, however, not do his due diligence in what Fauci and the CDC. Fauci is with the Administration of Infectious whatever. He's not the CDC. But Trump was in charge of the federal government, the executive branch. He should have been, him and his administration should have been better. Now, there's a big difference between Trump not knowing the nitty gritty of the CDC and trusting the officials and what we see with Cuomo, for sure. And I think this is the perfect example of absolute hypocrisy. The Democrats will complain about Trump all day and night, saying his supporters are in a cult. When you literally have Cuomo issuing the guidance to send sick people into nursing homes, he's then caught red-handed, covering up the data. The story gets worse. He's now being accused of a coordinated criminal conspiracy. Democrats still support him 2-1. This is insane. And it's worrying. Because when you see stories like this, the lies, the manipulation, the death, the chaos, and you see the willingness to tribally support a man who's not only killing these people, but come on, he's even got, these women coming out against him. That's not enough. The Democrats will just blindly support him. Recently, the Democrats passed something called H.R. 1. It is a heavy voting reform bill. It will likely guarantee Democrats win forever. And the reason for it is low information voters who tend to be Democrats, who support vicious predators and murderers like Cuomo, don't know and don't care. So I'll tell you why there's an argument for actually making voting a little bit harder. When asked, Republicans do tend to say voting should be harder. Why? Well, because voting is a civic duty that has serious ramifications on the country. It is not something to take lightly, and you must understand what you are doing. It's a very powerful tool in governance. The Democrats want anyone at any point for any reason to be able to vote. They want it as easy as possible. They argue that's pro-democracy. That's not pro-democracy. Absolutely not. That's pro-oligopoly or plutocracy, where you have a bunch of people who don't know what's going on blindly voting for their tribe. I'm not going to pretend that the Republicans are better. No, I think the Republican Party's awful. Absolutely awful. But there does need to be some kind of minimal barrier. And what I mean by that is most people, I would say most people should have a simple little bump that, they have to overcome in order to vote. Not that they shouldn't vote, but that they need to. I guess a better way to put it is when they go to vote, they shouldn't walk in and go, oh, Trump. There should be something like, are you sure you want to vote? Okay, come on in. I like people voting. I want people to vote. I want more people to vote. I actually support a lot of the many of the proposals that were pushed through with H.R. 1. The issue, however, is when you look to the Democratic Party and you can see the amount of people who would support someone like Cuomo, these people are clueless. I'm willing to bet if you went door to door in a Democrat neighborhood and asked them if they supported Cuomo, they'd say yes. If you asked them after knowing that he covered up the death of thousands of people because his policy resulted in their deaths, would you still support him? Many would probably say no. However, more troublesome, I suppose, is that many would still say yes. So long as there is a D next to his name, he can do whatever he wants. He could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose a voter. Now, it's not that extreme. Trump said that. I don't think that's true, by the way. If Trump shot someone on Fifth Avenue, he would lose most of his voters because Trump supporters aren't lunatics, though there are many culty Trump supporters, for sure. Cuomo has in the Democratic Party. I just can't believe we're at this point now where we've learned all of this about what Cuomo and his administration had done to these people, these nursing homes, to people's mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, people's uncles and aunts. Cuomo killed them. There was an objection. I had this argument with Ian, if you watch the Timcast IRL podcast, where Ian says he didn't kill him. He didn't kill him. It was a policy. No. They objected. They said, don't do this. You're going to bring the virus here. And he said, shut your mouth. He didn't literally say that. He said, so what? And then when they found out they actually did kill all these people, he said, cover up the numbers because Trump might investigate us and we could get in trouble. So tell me how Assemblyman Mike Lawler is incorrect when he said it was a coordinated criminal conspiracy to obstruct justice. He's calling for Cuomo to resign. Yeah, I think Cuomo should resign. But I'm going to call on federal prosecutors to bring us a perp walk. I want to see Cuomo not just resign in disgrace. I want to see him led out of the building in cuffs into the back of a vehicle, taken to jail, and tried for his crimes. But this never happens, does it? Because Democrat voters still approve of what he's done. Think about the ramifications of this. Either they don't know and they vote for him. I'd imagine, to give the benefit of the doubt, many of them just don't know he killed these people. Many of these Democrats probably know what he did and approve of what he did. If we want to operate under the assumption that these Democrat voters are not low information or ignorant, make that argument, Democrats. Say it's actually the Republicans are stupid. Okay, well, then you're telling me that Democrat voters know full well what Cuomo did and support it. Is that what you're saying? They said, wow, Cuomo killed all these people. That's a good thing, huh? Is that the Democrat voters' mentality? Is that what they want? No, I think the Democrat voters are low information. They don't pay attention. And that's why Democrats want to strip away any hurdle, any security measure they can. They're now saying in H.R. 1 that designated individuals can take ballots for people. Yeah, they want ballot harvesting. They want someone to go to nursing homes and tell people, vote like this, give me your card, I'll go turn it in. You get ballot chasers. That's what the Democrats want. Republicans may want to suppress the vote, sure, but I think what we all should want is a well-informed public understanding the importance and the weight of their civic duty and saying, I will only vote if I am absolutely sure it's the right thing. These Democrat voters who support Cuomo are helping a man who would have them killed if they were in a nursing home. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.